Welcome to Riding Shotgun on Tuesday, May 15th. Sound right? That sounds right. Thanks for being here. It is a warm, kind of hazy day. We had sounded like a storm blowing through last night, but we never got hardly any rain from it, just wind. And anyhow, it's just me today. Alfie didn't come along because I've had her back here on walks and she can't stay out of the creek. And then she gets all funky and I got to give her a bath, and I'm going into the office and do some stuff, and I didn't feel like fighting her with a bath. That can be it ends up being me that gets the bath. So anyhow, crops are up, beans are up, corn is getting a little bigger, and everything's good. Well, I guess the big news is Francis Okoro says he's going to go to Oregon. And, you know, the big man from Normal West. I mean, this is a complicated situation with him because he doesn't know whether he's a 2018 recruit or a 2019 recruit. He's technically a 2019 recruit. I just think he would like to be an 18. He's going to try to see what he can get accomplished credits-wise and see whether or not he qualifies, you know. And you know, it came down to Oregon, Illinois, and Purdue. And I guess if he had to pick one or the other, Oregon probably the better. I don't really want to see him play for somebody else for the next 4 or 5 years, whatever. But it's kind of the latest example of, you know, this is true in basketball and football for Illinois. They're recruiting uphill. That's what I call it, recruiting uphill. And that is, you know, Oregon and Purdue, two schools that have been front and center in the national limelight the last few years. Oregon was in the Final Four a couple years ago. Purdue, a top 10 team last season. And, you know, and Illinois hasn't been in the tournament for 5 straight years. And you know, Illinois is on his radar because he's going to school right now, you know, an hour away, essentially. So there's that. But it's kind of, I think it's remarkable that they've put together the class that they've put together, given the uphill nature of what they are trying to recruit to. And the same has been true in football. So, you know, it's really the challenge of those two jobs is to recruit without recent success on the field or on the court or whatever. And so, you know, wish him luck and move on. There's nothing else you can do. They've got a visit lined up with Parker Braun. Parker Braun, a 6'9" kid. I really don't know his whole story. He's from Overland Park, Kansas. He appears to have been overlooked. I know that, you know, he's LSU, probably the favorite for him. I don't know. Arizona's been involved with him. Mississippi, Virginia Tech, Illinois, getting a visit from him, and see what you can get accomplished there. They're just trying to fill out this class. You know, the one thing about the Okoro is that clears up your mission a little bit, because if Okoro commits to you, you got to have a scholarship for him this year, and you got to have a scholarship for him next year. I mean, it's you don't know when the kid's going to arrive, and so that's all going on. So, and then, you know, they're continue to sprinkle offers around to people. I see where they offered Terrence Shannon, a 2019 wing, 6'6"-ish. Really had a good run here. A kid that was hurt last year during the AAU season, so he was off the radar for people. A kid from Lincoln Park who plays with the Mac Irvin Fire. And so, you know, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, he sounded, you know, he's going to have to come down for visits and so forth, but he sounded pretty impressed. And they got to remember that they've got a little tighter in through Mac Irvin Fire with Chin Coleman, and Chin will do a good job of recruiting him. And then we'll see where all that goes. But you know, two other things. One, if you haven't seen any pictures of Lovie, the beard is gone. Bye beard. It was really hot yesterday here, and I was thinking, man, I would not want a face full of fur when it gets up to 90 degrees or whatever. And Lovie's got it trimmed back down, and he'll be recognizable again to those of you who said you couldn't tell who he was. And I think that maybe the reason I saw recent pictures of him was on a couple of occasions he might have posed with some graduates. Look, I love this. I really like it when athletes are students and when students graduate. And I think it's something we take for granted. Not all of us. I think it's something that some people are skeptical about, the whole student-athlete concept. That if you're an athlete, you don't really have to go to class. You don't have to work. You know, there's always somebody there to doctor up your grades. That's just not true. 27 football players will graduate in this cycle. That included, I believe, lasted December and this last week here in May, and then some will graduate in August. And that includes a lot of interesting people too. I was really tickled to see Joe Spencer get his master's. Good for you, Joe. That was awesome, man. Joe Spencer, former Illini captain, all-around good guy, center. And then I saw, he was not on the university's list, but Brandon Lloyd posted that he had graduated, and that was a big, big deal to him and his family, because if you remember, Brandon Lloyd arrived in '99, I think. Wide receiver out of Kansas, the Kansas City area. I think his sophomore year was the year he stepped off the curb funny, broke his leg, had to redshirt that year. And then 2001 was the year that they won, they Ron Turner, Kurt Kittner team that won their way to the Sugar Bowl, where they lost to LSU. And then I believe he came back the next year, this is my recollection, and then declared for the draft and didn't graduate. And I remember at the time, I believe I think there's 7 kids in his family, and he was the only one to have not finished college, and Mama was mad and heartbroken and in tears. And he said it was really hard to tell her what he was going to do. And he was only a 4th-round draft pick. Was he the 49ers, I think? And, which is okay, but he wasn't a 1st-round pick. But he ended up having a long career. I think he played 11 seasons, maybe 12, with some different teams. Had that one tremendous season with Denver, where he had double-digit touchdown catches and a lot of yards and a lot of catches. I mean, a dynamic season. And from a financial standpoint, I'm sure that's all worked out well for him. But if his post is accurate, and there was a picture of him too in his cap and gown outside right near the Grange statue, and he's gone back now and finished up his requirements. He did that for Mom, and good for him. And he may have done it for himself as well, but I bet Mama was really, really, really pleased that he had not lost sight of that. But then on the regular list of people, I was really glad to see, I realized Jeff George Jr. and Chase Crouch are not going to be with the program any longer, but see them stick around and get their degrees, that was cool. To see somebody like Reggie Corbin earn their undergraduate degree in 3 years, that's good work, man. See Mikey Dudek get his degree, a double major, that's really good. Nick Allegretti couldn't pick a tougher, major in accountancy, and to see him get his with honors, and a lot of other guys too. I mean, just, I don't know, that means a lot to me. And to see on the football side of things, on the basketball side of things, I knew Michael Finke would get his. Michael's been a great student, got that finished up so that he can begin his graduate program at Grand Canyon. But I don't believe there's ever been anyone from LeBron Black's family to earn a college degree. And after LeBron had his incident in in downtown Urbana, where he kind of lost his temper and lost his mind when the bouncers were trying to clear out another situation, didn't have anything to do with him and his girlfriend and now fiance, but he became convinced she was being threatened and so forth, and he became overly aggressive in that. Whatever, we don't need to relive all that. But, you know, that was a crossroads moment for him in his career. And when it became apparent that he was going to be allowed to continue in school, to have to earn his way back and make amends, but that he was being given a second chance, that meant a lot to him. He talked openly about it, really the first time he'd ever talked openly about anything. And he really knuckled down in school. He ended up being recognized in that plus 3.0 grade point average range, and he graduated here, and good for him. What a cool thing for him and his family. He's going to go play professionally now in Europe, and get married to this woman who he got engaged to the night of the bragging rights game, and that was really cool. And Mark Allstork finished his graduate program and earned his master's degree, and good for him. He's kept a good attitude. I know Mark wasn't everything everyone hoped he would be. I'm sure it wasn't everything he hoped it would be, but you know, I never saw him out there dogging it, and you know, he played hard and gave you what he had. And then a couple of the walk-ons also, Cameron Liss, who was a tremendous student, might have been a 4.0, you know, as a walk-on. Good for them too. So I don't know, I know some people don't care about any of that, they just want to know about winning. It always makes me feel good when I see those guys get their degrees, and because in the end, inevitably, you know, most of them aren't going to go pro as athletes. Most of them are going to lean on something else and make a life out of it. And even if you do go pro, and you get your degree and you get some smarts, I look at somebody like, I don't know why I bumped into something about Fred Wakefield, the defensive lineman from Tuscola, who did go pro and who did have a successful career, but is now in business and making a go of it there, and good for him. So anyhow, pretty cool stuff. So anyhow, that's all for this week, and thanks for riding along. If you're wondering what that stuff is in the back of my truck, if you can see it, I don't even know if you can see it. I can see it when I look in this mirror, and I can't tell if you can see it there. Maybe you can. There's white bags back there. There's 40 bags of mulch in the middle of mulching the garden. I already did 60 bags. I got 40 more to go. Not looking forward to it, but I do have some news about continuing to write for the Herald Review, but I'm not going to say anything about that until maybe we get a couple more I's dotted and T's crossed, but it looks favorable, and I'm excited about it. I hope you will be too. And that's it for now. So thanks for riding along. I appreciate it a lot, and we will talk to you next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.